One of the topics that doesn't get enough airtime is the topic of cultivating self-respect. This is a problem because obviously the formal, officially recognised education system is abysmal at equipping the individual with the right toolkit to encounter and confront reality and understand the world, understand themselves and understand the world. So that's obvious. I think everybody knows that the formal education system is inadequate, to say the least. And it's somewhat of a blessing and a curse for me, because if the education system was adequate, then there would be no need to search, to do your own research and go on to online platforms and try to figure these things out by engaging in your own research and stumbling upon a video like this. But getting back to the point, self-respect is essential because you are going to have to live with yourself forever. There's only one relationship where it lasts your whole lifetime and where it's so intimate that it's impossible to have such a relationship with any other person, and that's your relationship with yourself. So to say that self-respect is important is definitely an understatement. It cannot be overstated. That being said, I'm not all about focusing on the individual in terms of a life's philosophy. I think we can become hyper-focused on the individual, and I think actually one of the problems with modernity, modern times, is that we are hyper-focused on the individual and we fail to see why the individual is important, paradoxically enough, because of our hyper-focus on the individual. So what it causes people, it induces in people self-absorption, bordering on the narcissistic side of things. But I think we can develop a philosophy that does focus on the individual only to a point, beyond which it's unnecessary and it becomes self-absorption and self-obsession. But once we cultivate sufficient self-respect, now we can go about cultivating a community of people who sufficiently respect themselves and who develop relationships between each other and across many people, and create this flourishing community full of people of self-respect and respect for one another. So I think there's two main reasons why people in modern times don't respect themselves, and they're understandable. The first reason is, for men in particular, we can become self-reflective and we can become aware of ourselves at a given point in our lives, and we can say to ourselves, what am I? Am I a strong man? Have I committed myself to a rigorous training regimen wherein I confronted adversity and developed the strength to overcome said adversity? If the answer is no, then I can see how it's understandable that a certain hatred for oneself develops, because you have not yet overcome adversity. And what are you as a man if you're not strong and capable of overcoming adversity? So I think that's one reason, for men in particular, why this sort of self-hatred develops and this resentment towards life, this bitter attitude towards life develops. A second reason why that resentment can be found in individuals who then project it onto the world and think the world is against me. Second reason is for both men and women, and this is the tendency to allow your attention to be robbed by social media companies and their content. Whoops. Allowing your attention to be robbed by them and just becoming a mindless scrolling robot. That is no good to anyone, especially not you. And imagine you gain that self-reflective capacity momentarily because your mindless scrolling activity distracts you from doing so, but it intrudes on your consciousness. You become self-aware and you say, oh my god, what am I doing? All I'm doing is scrolling mindlessly. This is of no benefit to me. This is of no benefit to anyone except the company who has made this specifically for robbing my attention at my expense. how is it at your expense? It's like an opportunity cost. You could be directing your attention elsewhere, but you allow this company to steal your attention and direct it to its ends as opposed to your own self-defined ends. So that's for both men and women. This tendency to hone in on the mindless scrolling robot activity, allowing your attention to be robbed by these social media companies who are presenting before you content that inspires in you negative emotions like jealousy for the pictures of the better looking men and women who you aspire to become, but who you know you'll never be at their level because their level is artificial, it's fake, it's not real. So how do we overcome this? As men, commit yourself to a rigorous training regimen. Whether that is training some form of grappling like wrestling or jiu-jitsu, or lifting weights, or running daily, whatever it is, just expose yourself to adversity and overcome said adversity so that you can, at an embodied level, know that you can overcome adversity and not just think, yeah, I could do that. That's fake. And for both men and women, stop the mindless scrolling BS, because it's not doing you any good. It's only harming you. The social media companies who are presenting you with this content don't care that this is costing you, that this is coming at your expense, their profit, their gain at your expense. So you have to allow your self-reflective awareness to be brutally honest and tell you these things, and then work towards cultivating a relationship of self-respect with yourself so that you never return to these harmful activities.